Hello, good morning. I will talk about chess. Chess is an abstract strategic board game and a sport designed for two players. It is one of the most common and complex games existing in human culture. Estimates of the number of legal states in chess range from 10 to the power of 43 to 10 to the power of 120. The game is accepted worldwide as both a hobby and a competitive sport. A person who plays chess professionally is called a chess player. Victory in the game is achieved when one of the kings is threatened in chess by one of the opponent's pieces, and he cannot eat the threatening piece or block the threat with other piece or escape from the threat to a square where it will not be threatened. Okay, now I will talk about basic concepts in chess. The chessboard is divided into 64 squares with 8 rows numbered from 1 to 8. So the rows are number 1, row number 2, number 3, row number 4, row number 5, number 6, number 7, and row number 8. And the 8 columns marked with the letters A to H. So this is column A, column B, column C, column D, column E, column F, column G, and column H. The squares are painted in a light color and dark color alternately. We should place the board so the rightmost square in the row closest to each player is white. So the rightmost row that is closest to me is of course row number 1. The closest row to me is row number 1, and the rightmost square in row number 1 is white. Okay, now I will talk about the arrangement of the tools. We should place the tools on the board in the row closest to each player, from outside to inside. So the row closest to me is row number 1, and we should place them from outside to inside. First of all, we will place 2 rooks on the outermost squares. The outermost squares is those squares, and we should place 2 rooks. Those are the rooks, and we should place them in the outermost squares. Okay. Then 2 knights. Those are the knights. Okay, we should place them here. Then 2 bishops. Those are the bishops. We should place them here. And in the 2 central squares remaining in the row, we should place queen in column 4. Should place queen. This is the queen. We should place the queen in column 4. So this is column 1, column 2, column 3, and column 4. And in column 5 we should place the king. This is the king. We should place the king in column 5, column number 5, or in column E. Okay. So in the second row on each side, the second row is this. This is the second row, and for the black we relate to the 7th row. Okay, we should place the pawns for the entire width of the row on all 8 squares. So those are the pawns, and we should place them on row number 2 for the white, and we should place the black pawns on row number 7. Okay. Now I will talk about the characteristics of the tools. We will start talk about the king. The king is the most important tool on the board. Okay. The most important tool on the board is the king. it can move in any direction, straight or diagonal, one square in each direction. Okay, now the king is on the square e4. From e4 the king can move to any direction one square, so it can move here, 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 and here. So in total you have 8 squares to move in the next move. 3 plus 3 and plus 2. Okay? So usually the king can move only one square in any direction except for castling. Castling is something that you do in order to protect the king. That is the short castling. So in this case, as you can see, the king moved from e1 to g1, so he moved 2 squares. That is the short castling, and in the long castling, you do it like that. As you can see, the king moved from e1 to c1, so he moved 2 squares. That is the only possibilities to the king to move more than 1 square. Okay? When the king is in a chess position, that is in a position where the opponent can eat him in the next turn, the threatened player must change this position by moving the king to another square, or by blocking the attack line of the threatening piece, or by beating the threatening piece. Okay, so that is the first rule in chess, that when your king is threatened, you must remove the threat immediately. You cannot do other move than to remove the threat from your king immediately by moving your king to a square that it will not be threatened anymore, or by blocking the threat line, the attack line, blocking the attack line of the threatening piece, or by beating the threatening piece. Okay? In order to win the game, the player must reach a position where his opponent cannot rescue his king from the threat of chess, and he also cannot eat the threatening piece, or he cannot block the threat with his own piece. So when you threaten the opponent's king, that move is called chess or check. And if the opponent cannot rescue his king from the threat in any option that he will choose, in that case you are the winner of the game. Okay? The state is called mat. Okay? Despite its value as the most important tool, the king's movement is relatively limited. Unlike the other tools, it is not possible to evaluate the king with points for changing tools, because the king is not a tool that can be given up. So the second rule in chess is that you cannot give up your king. You can give up any other tool on the board, but you cannot give up your king, because the king is the most important board, the most important tool on the board. Okay, but in terms of its value, in the sense of balance of forces and its tactical abilities in the game, it is estimated about 2.5 points. Okay? Because the king has limited range offensive ability, as I've already told you, he can move only one slot in each direction. This ability is manifested mainly in advanced stages of the game, when there are not many tools left on the board, that is to say, on the end of the game. On the same scale, the rook is valued at 5 points, so this is the rook and valued at 5 points. The knight valued, this is the knight, and evaluated at 3 points, and the bishop valued also at 3 points. Okay, so we finished to talk about the king. The next tool that I will talk about it is the queen. The queen is the most powerful tool on the board. Its advantage is the flexibility of its movement, since it can move in any straight line, column, row, or diagonal, and as many squares as it wants in the same row or diagonal. So in this position, the king is on square, that the name of the square is E4, and from E4 you actually can move in any square on the main diagonal that starts from edge 1 and ends at A8. Okay? And he also can move on to any square in the diagonal that starts from B1 and ends in H7. Okay, so there is two diagonals that he can move on them on any square, and he also can move straight, or he can move in any square on the column E. Can move backwards or forward on this column E, and he also can move on any square on row number 4. Okay, so it is customary to estimate the queen at about 9 points. Okay, the next tool that I will talk about it is the rook. This is the rook. The rook can only move along the columns or rows. So it can move in any square in column E, to any square in column E, and he also can move to any square in row number 4. The rooks are usually more effective when they support each other and work as a pair. A special rule was assigned to the rook in the protection of the king during the castling. So as I've already mentioned, you can do the short castling, or you can also do the long castling, like this. It is customary to estimate the rook at about 5 points. Okay, so the next tool that I will talk about is the bishop. The bishop can only move diagonally. So the bishop that is on the square E4 can move on the main diagonal that starts to, it can move to any square on the main diagonal that starts from edge 1 and ends at A8. Or it can also move on the diagonal that starts from P1 and ends on edge 7. So it can move on that diagonal to any square. The bishop is the only tool that is limited to one slot color and cannot switch to other color. So as I have already shown you, there are two bishops on the board, and in this situation there is a bishop that can move only on the white squares. This bishop cannot move on the brown squares. And this bishop can move only on the brown squares. And it cannot move on the white squares. The two existing bishops together cover both colors of the board. So in the event that one bishop is lost, part of the control over the board is lost. Okay? It is usually estimated at about 3 points. But with the development of modern chess engines, it has been proven that its value in the relative majority of position is estimated at 3.25. This is something that's subject to dispute. There is also a slight advantage to the player who has two bishops against a knight and a bishop. So the side that has two bishops has an advantage over the side that has bishop and knight, or the side with two bishops has an advantage over the side that has two knights on the board. Okay. The next tool that I will talk about is the knight. This is the knight. The knight has a special movement that combines straight and diagonal movement. Alternatively, its movement can be described as the letter L, rotated in different directions. So we can describe the movement of the knight as he moves 2 steps down and 1 step to the right side, like this. He also can move 2 steps down and 1 step to the left side, like this. Or he also can move 2 steps up and 1 step to the right side, like this. Or 2 steps up and 1 step to the left side, like this. Or 2 steps to the right side and 1 step down, like this. Or 2 steps to the right side and 1 step up, like this. You also can move 2 steps to the left side and 1 step down, like this. or you can move 2 steps to the left side and 1 step up, like this. So as you can see, in total you can move in this position to 8 different squares, as I have mentioned. The advantage of the knight is that tools don't block his movement and he can jump over them. The knight is especially effective in close situations and in the execution of a fork. A fork is a threat to several tools at the same time. So I will show you what is the fork. This is a situation that we call a fork. Why? Because the white knight threatens to eat both the rook, the black rook, and he also threatens to eat in the next turn the queen, the black queen. So he threatens to eat 2 tools at the same time. This situation is called fork, and you can also create a situation when the knight threatens to eat 8 tools at the same time. In this situation, the white knight threatens to eat all the black tools on the board, because he threatens to eat the black pawn. He threatens also to eat the black rook, also this black rook. He threatens to eat the knight. He threatens to eat the black queen, black bishop, black knight, and black bishop. So this is also a situation that's called fork. The knight is usually estimated at about 3 points and slightly less than the bishop. As I have already told you, the bishop valued at about 3.25, so it is slightly stronger than the knight. Okay, the last tool that I will talk about is the pawn. Those are the pawns. The pawn is the last in the hierarchy and the most limited in its movement. The pawn is also called soldier. It can only move 1 square at a time and only in one direction. And the direction is forward. So That is to say, the opposite direction to the side of the board where it starts. So the forward direction is this direction for the white, and for the black side, the forward direction is the opposite direction. It is this direction. Okay, so the pawns can move only forward. Which means that it is likely to get stuck when the square in front of it is occupied by another piece. Okay? In this position, the white pawn that is on the square f4 is stuck because there is a black pawn that occupies the square that he could move, so cannot move, while the white pawn that is on the square c2 is not blocked, so it can move like this. But in this position, the white pawns are stuck because the white pawn on f4 is stuck because of the black pawn, and the white pawn that is on the square c2 is stuck by the black knight, so the white cannot move at all, while the black side is not stuck because it can move his knight. As I have already said, that the knight is not blocked by the white pawn. It can move here, here, here. The knight can jump over the opponent's tools or over his pawn, over his tools also. During the first move of the pawn, and only during this, it can move 2 squares forward or 1 square according to the player's will. Okay, during the first move, so it is only when the pawn is on the second row, it is for the white, and only when the black pawns is on the 7th row. In these situations, actually here the white pawns can move 2 squares forward. That pawn also can move 2 squares forward, The same rule is for the black, of course. It can move 2 squares forward, like that. Okay? But in this position, the white and also the black pawns can move only 1 square, because the rule of 2 squares is only if the white pawns are on the second row and the black pawns on the 7th row. Only from the second row from the white pawns and from the 7th row for the black pawns, only from that rows they can move 2 squares. Okay? The way pawn beats is different from his usual way of moving. By moving 1 square diagonally only in the direction of his progress. So the way that the pawns beats or eats the opponent's tools is not the same way of their movements. So in this situation, if it is the white's turn, the white pawn can eat the black pawn like that. So he moves 1 square forward, and that's the way that he can eat other tools of the opponent. So he can also, in this situation, he can eat the black knight. So the way that it eats the opponent's tool is diagonally 1 square forward. Okay? So in this position, if it is the black's turn, you can eat the white pawn like this. So in this position, the black can either beat the black pawn like this, or it can also move the black pawn forward. Okay? Or he of course can choose to move the pawn that is on f7 2 squares forward or 1 square forward. Okay? Despite being a weak tool due to its limited movement, pawns have an advantage over the other pieces. One advantage over the other pieces. If it reaches the last row of the board, it becomes any other piece except for the king of the same color, according to the player's choice. So if it is white's turn, in the next move it can move with this pawn forward. So as you can see, the white pawn arrived to the 8th row, and in this situation it can change the pawn that arrived to the 8th row to any other tool. It can be queen, it can be rook, it can be bishop, or it can be knight, but not to, you cannot change it to king. Also, the same rule is for the black. If he arrives to the first row, he can change it to any other tools except for the king. Okay, and in this situation, if it is white's turn, he can do this move, and he can replace the pawn that is on E8 to another queen. So theoretically you can have 9 white queens on the board at the same time. Okay, because if you move all your 8 pawns to the 8th row, you can replace them to queens, and with the queen that you have in the beginning of the game, in total you created a situation that there are 9 white queens on the board. Okay, but this is something that is possible theoretically, and in the reality this situation is never happens. Okay, the situation where the pawn arrives to the first row and you can replace the pawn to any other tool, this situation is called crowning. Okay, it is customary to estimate the pawn in 1 point. A special move of the pawn is en passant. En passant is a special method of capturing in chess that occurs when a pawn captures a horizontally adjacent opponent pawn that has just made an initial 2 square advance. The capturing pawn moves to the square that the opponent pawn passed over, as if the opponent pawn had advanced only 1 square. So the en passant rule is when one of the sides, for example the white side, advances his pawn 2 squares forward, then the black can capture that pawn by doing this. This is the en passant rule. Okay? Or if the white side advances his pawn 2 squares forward, then the black can capture that pawn by doing this. The same rule applies to the black side. If the black moves his pawn 2 squares forward, then the white can capture that pawn by doing this. Or if the black moves his pawn 2 squares forward, then the white can capture that pawn like this, or he also can capture that pawn with the other white pawn like this. Okay? The rule ensures that the pawn cannot use its 2 square move to safely skip past an opponent pawn. Okay? That's all. Thank you very much.